Do all high schoolers think the same? Jubilee watched them before.
Seeing an iPad kid, I'm like, wow, what job is
I
he
feel
gonna
like,
have? He knows more about.
I'm a high schooler, so I feel like I can
I
agree
was
or
scrolling to the
disagree with
next
this
video
also.
than like anything that will help you get a job.
Okay.
High school.
Talking about iPad kids.
3,
Yes, if you're in,
1.
well, up until senior year when most people are 18, but yes, if you're in if you're in high school, you're a kid because you're 13 to 17. Even though you're a teenager, you're not actually considered an adult until you're 18.
High schools in
So
general,
yes,
kids,
you're
is
a
almost
kid.
like defeating the people who are in the minority. Like for people like me who have grown up more just mature for my age, and I guess fitting
still
more
a
an
kid.
adult mindset. I feel like I can't say for myself that
You're
I'm
still a
a
kid.
because I definitely make adult decisions time and
Because
time
of your
again.
age,
I mean,
you're
there are people
still
who still have
considered
the
a kid.
mindset of kids, but I can't say high schoolers in general are kids.
I feel like with high school, it's such a broad statement to say high schoolers because there's a giant difference between a freshman and a senior. Like it is.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why like when
Yeah,
they
I
try to
agree.
date each other, it's like why is that 18-year-old trying to date the 14-year-old? Like it.
Yeah,
just
you're
doesn't make
18.
sense.
You're an
I feel
adult.
like it'd be naive to ignore the fact that like especially anyone who's a senior, they're about to be a legal adult.
I think kids need mentoring. That's how I see it. I mean, adults too need mentoring, but I think kids need that extra help and that extra push. I've seen many kids who have been forced to be older or act older as they are to mature faster. That's why I went for agree.
Yeah.
I want to move.
You want to move? Yeah, go for it.
Sure.
I
Talk
didn't
us
know if I
through.
could.
What are you thinking?
Well, I agree. I feel like there's just so many decisions, especially in high
Oh,
school, that
why
we
does
have to
mine-
make that are not like kid-like, and they expect us to act a certain way. And also,
You're
like,
18,
I'm
you're
not
an
being able
adult.
to drive. How should we still be considered a kid?
You're an adult. You're not a kid.
Um,
Why are they
I
all
move
moving?
Because I feel like
that
especially at
peer
that
pressure,
16 to
dude, like,
18 age, you're constantly
they
preparing
can't
for
just
your
have, like,
future
their
where
own
it's
opinion,
actually
dude.
difficult to live in your childhood.
just
It's
following,
just kind of
like,
you're unable
you're a
to
kid.
live
You're 15.
as a child, so it's like how can
You're
you
not an
consider
adult.
yourself one when you're constantly planning for your adult life and future?
When I was a freshman, all the teachers around me always told me that I needed to prepare for my future. And I feel like, especially coming after online school and quarantine, I'm still living in that middle schooler mindset. I'm still basically like a kid living and preparing for my future, which I'm clearly not ready for.
I feel like kid.
Why
is
you
kind of a weird
disagree if
word.
you just said
So,
you
like,
feel
it's
like you're
just
a kid?
and adult, and I feel like in high school you kind of
Like,
want.
What kind of lot? Our high school's kids, I feel like a kid. Go on the agree side.
kind of want to be
Never
thought as
mind.
a kid because it's kind of like, oh, he's a kid, right? It's like an excuse almost. Like you're allowed to mess up. I really can't like look at my classes full of 18-year-olds and say these are adults. Like I feel like now it's later and later we're turning into adults. I don't feel like we turn in. I mean, of course there's people that have to pay bills at 16.
Yeah.
But say a high schooler is an adult. I
Yeah,
feel
this
like
guy
I like
makes
to know
sense.
that I can grow so much more from now. Like, oh, I did that when I was a kid, not as an adult.
Yeah. Okay.
Today's high schoolers have it harder than previous generations. 3, 2,
Eh.
1, go.
I honestly don't even know, dude. Like, it's like teaching has changed so much. Saying we have it harder than previous generations, like, we have Google, like, we have AI. We can do things online. Previous generations could not do that. They had to know all that stuff. So I feel like we honestly have it a little easier just because of technology-wise.
I feel like now, our generation, we have more resources
Yeah.
for help that we need, you know? And
Exactly.
way back then, like mental health, that was like, they would put you straight to camp or like some conversion, stuff like that. But I feel like now there's just more resources. We have the internet, we have the media. Like, would
Yeah.
you have wanted to send a pigeon to your friend instead of texting your friend? Like,
Pigeon?
stuff like that. Like, would you want to have, we just have
That's
it
a little far
easier
back.
now.
I feel like it's an in-between thing because I feel like social situations now are much better, but back then they were much worse. I feel like there was racism, teachers could beat their own kids, and I feel like now there's so much things that we cannot do, and I feel like it's for the better.
Can I move?
Then why do you?
When I think about this question, I kind of like went to bullying and how much easier it is to get bullied nowadays, especially on social media, because it's so easy.
I feel like bullying was like a lot bigger of a thing back then though than it is now, low key. Like, I mean, I know people still get bullied today, but do you ever just see somebody like getting bullied? Like, any school I've got to, nobody gets bullied. Like, I feel like you don't see it as much today.
People say worse things, and I think
But yeah,
that
like
mental health,
cyberbullying.
it was just as bad back in the day.
I can see what she means.
But because of social media, it's become more prominent, and we see it everywhere. Another thing that I also thought about was, you guys say that we have more resources, but don't you? Well, you don't have to agree. But I feel that the resources have kind of made us a little less smart. Because we're able to look
yes,
up
because you just
that,
look everything
like,
up.
the answers to our test, or like, I don't know, everything's just so much more accessible that I'm not really
You're less
learning
smart because
as
you're
much as like my mom and dad did.
using
So I kinda,
online
like,
to find your
sat
answers. You're
that
using
all our
technology to find your
resources are
answers.
so much more accessible.
Yeah, I know some
People before had to
people like, they're like,
get that in their
"Is it
head,
hot
remember
outside?"
it.
And then they'll go to their phone and check the weather. Like, just go outside,
I feel
Yeah.
like school right now is so easy for our generation. Like, it is so incredibly easy. Like, especially now that I'm in senior year, I mean, I'm not taking incredibly hard classes, but like, they don't even give you homework because they know you won't do it. Like, it's like, they would rather have you pass than like teach you something. And like, the amount of kids that held back is like
Nah,
nothing.
bro, I still get
like,
mad
it's just,
homework.
Oh, keep going ahead, go ahead, go ahead. And so like, seeing like classrooms from like older generations, it seems like, oh, they're like learning, there's more respect to the teachers. Now like, there's like such little discipline that every class is just like amok.
I feel like just because things are easier does not mean it's better. My friend goes to college in San Diego, and there's literally a group chat for people in a nursing major just to cheat on the work. And if we're having nurses that don't even know how to like give you medicine, stuff like that, it's scary.
I did want to hit.
Then
on
why do you think
how
it makes it
pandemic
harder if they have all of
impacted you
that?
guys.
That would make it
Yeah,
easier.
I think it did impact our generation. I know personally, I
Yeah.
was always so
The quarantine did impact, like, dude, you would literally just be online, like looking at the camera, not actually doing anything, be looking at the camera playing like Fortnite, prime Fortnite, while on Zoom call. That's what I was doing. My teacher got mad at me because that's what I was doing. I was playing Fortnite, right on that TV back there. Actually, they caught me, bro. And I feel like a lot of people people didn't learn because they were just off doing their own thing, cheating on everything.
great
Anyway.
at talking growing up, and then going into coronavirus, not really like talking to my friends a bunch, and like being kind of like antisocial into myself. Coming out and having to talk to adults was like terrifying. I didn't want to do it at all. I couldn't even talk to like my peers.
When I went back to school, I
What?
felt like I was still in 8th grade in middle school. So it was very hard for me to adjust. And this was definitely like the biggest change like that affected our generation, if you think about it. We didn't deal with the bubonic plague or a big, stuff like that. Like this was
Bubonic
the biggest impact.
plague.
And I remember going back to school, I was so anxious. Like I would take half a Xanax, almost every morning because it was so bad.
There was this day where we
Damn.
could finally take off our mask, and it was so weird seeing everyone, but I never knew what to do with my face. It was just crazy.
I feel ready.
That is low key. Like I agree with him. I was like scared to take my mask off. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I was so used to having my mask on that whenever I had to take it off, I was like embarrassed for people to actually see my face.
Explore homosexuality. 3, 2, 1, go.
I mean, what? Like,
I don't know what that
I mean, I'm straight. Like, I'm into
I knew I
girls,
was gay at a very young
not guy.
age.
Guys.
So I've kind of always been ready, or kind of always known. Like I was over here at like 6 years old, like looking at a TV screen, and there's like a boy, and I was like, he's cute. Like, I was like, yeah, I already knew. So like, I feel like it just depends what you determine what exploring your sexuality is.
You do you, man.
Because at least in my book, I feel like I've already labeled it, and I'm already confident and happy with who I am.
Now,
As long as
it's
you're confident and happy with
very
yourself,
normal
that's
to
what
explore
matters.
yourself. And I think even just like having sex, it's very, very naive for any adult or anyone to ignore the fact that like people are gonna do that. Like it's or people around you are gonna do that. They're gonna talk about it, or you're gonna see it on TV. And with the internet, like we have access to everything these days.
Yeah.
No one is judged. like,
Access to
for
literally
waiting
anything,
or
dude.
wanting to try stuff, as long as everyone's being safe. as long as it's consensual, as long as you're okay, there's nothing wrong with it.
I also grew up in a very private Christian school. It was very it was like a bubble, you know, and we didn't talk about all that stuff, but now I attend a high school where we actually have wellness classes. Also, social media helps. Those random accounts on my For You page, they're like, how to kiss a boy or something like that. I don't even know.
What is it, WikiHow?
WikiHow,
Yeah, no.
sure. Like,
Oh,
there's just so many
WikiHow, dude.
courses,
That was so
that's
long
why
ago. That
you
was a
gotta
couple
seek
years
them out
ago.
and find a support system.
It's
I
kind
don't
of
know
like
what she's
for
talking
our
about. I
whole
don't see
generation
none of
happening earlier and earlier, like where we get introduced to it with like the internet and stuff. I kind of like it to be delayed. I kind of like to be a kid for as long as I can.
But
Yeah,
do you
like-
feel like people don't take you seriously if you continue
I want to
to
be a kid as long as I can, you know.
act
I'm not.
younger and want to be younger?
Don't
In
wanna
the
rush
sense
into
of,
adulthood,
like this
you know?
question, like sexuality, like
Just be a kid as long
I
as you
feel like
can.
I'd rather, because right now
Enjoy
it's like
it.
most of the pressure is just like, oh, I feel like I'm so behind because I haven't done this, and this
Yeah.
yet, when it should be so normal.
It's important that we do educate ourselves on these topics because once we're older, if we aren't, that could take a turn for the worse. I feel like approaching it naturally or in a professional way, like in terms of like school, if they're providing like health classes, I think that's just the best way to go about it. And I completely agree with you. Like I was also exposed to nasty on the internet and like no one wants to go through that.
I don't think that the school should do it because I think it's really weird. You know, I can never stop laughing personally. Like when I'm in a sixth grader and they say the word scrotum, how are you not supposed to like laugh?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's more of a personal endeavor, but I guess not everyone's as smart as me. But I feel like personally, I'd just like to find out on my own and maybe be encouraged by the school. But I don't like the classroom. Let's learn about sex, all sitting together as a bunch of teenagers. Like that's awful. That's like the worst thing ever.
I feel safe at school. 3.
I mean,
2,
where I'm
1,
at,
go.
like, I do, but you know, all the things that have been happening with schools and
My
stuff.
campus
It's
security are amazing.
honestly sucks that nowadays we got to deal with this, dude. It's really a terrible thing. I feel terrible for everybody that's lost their lives
they have
to
a
that.
personal relationship with
Everybody
all the
that's
students.
lost
I've
family
had bomb
members.
threats at my school. I've had like shootings literally walking distance down the street where the school had to go on lockdown. It's unfortunate, but also like it just makes me really aware. Like for every classroom, I have what's my hide plan? Who are my people? I don't feel comfortable putting my phone in the phone chart because if something happens, I want to text my family. And that's why COVID like lifted a lot of weight off my shoulders because I didn't have to worry about that all the time. Also, like a lot of people at my school who have mental health struggles, I'm always afraid that like someone won't be properly treated for that and then they'll just snap one day, you know?
My school has had multiple sexual assault scandals. Like my history teacher right now,
What
my world
the-
history teacher, if it weren't for the current sub, it would be with basically a pedophile. So it's
What? That's honestly sad to think about, bro. Your history teacher was a pedo. That's
it's scary. And when she mentioned like the bomb, I think I remember last year someone created an account with our school name and it was like shooting or something on this day and our school ended up canceling school for that day and it was horrible.
I feel
What
so
school does she
fortunate
go
to have
to,
grown
bruh?
up in a really privileged area where there's not a lot of violence. However, I feel like I'd be ignorant to say that a school shooting would never happen because all it takes is one kid out of the 2,500 students that I have to take a gun to school and shoot people. And I feel like there's so many different openings on my campus where that could happen.
We have
Yeah.
gates, but it honestly looks like a prison.
Okay, yeah, that's me
I
too.
won't lie. We have security guards. They're not armed, which was a conversation that came up. Should our security guards be armed?
I mean-
And another conversation came up. Should our teachers be armed? You know, there's just topics like that. I remember one. This was
It's
actually
kind of
recently,
difficult though, like, cause I mean, they're a security guard. They're like, their background is clear. They have no mental health problems, anything. Then I feel like it would be safe for a security guard to be armed at a school where there have been lots of shootings. You know, I feel like it would just be safer overall, but really just depends on honestly.
One of the old students at the college threatened to shoot up the whole school, and so even we had to go remote. So it's just like never feel safe.
My social media presence is important to me. 3, 2, 1, go.
Like, who I am on social media is important to me.
I don't particularly post, like maybe just my story, you know, but like I'm not like constantly posting. And if you do, that's perfectly fine. Like that's a lot of people's outlets, and especially creatively.
I don't own a single social media, and like
I mean, like
not as like a flex. I'm just saying like
it's like I like doing this stuff. I would say it's important to me just because I enjoy doing it. But to other people, they may think the opposite. Like, it's not really important, you know.
I hate the presence of an app
Just really
in
depends
my mind.
on
Like, oh, you should
who
do
it
this.
is.
Like, it's an app on my phone. Like, I don't want to give it any part of my life. So I'd just rather not have it.
I think sometimes with social media nowadays, it also can fall into career, which is really weird, but that's like what I do. It's like, oh, I can't post that picture of me like flipping off the camera with my friends because like at college or
they can
future
see
boss,
that.
because your digital footprint is so real. But I also like, I love having social media. Like I've had it for years. I've always like tried to ground myself and realize that it's just for fun. It's not that serious.
There are some people who I know who have like shown or done some really crazy stuff, and it's spread everywhere. Like, there's some things I do not need to know, and people just tell me. Like, on Instagram, there's like close friends, and there's like normal story, and I post on close friends so much more than I do on my normal story.
Or like a spam account.
Yeah,
I post on my spam account like way more.
A couple years ago, I would have been right there, like on the strongly agree. You know, like, because when I moved to the new school, a lot of people were like, oh, how many followers do you have? If you had over 1,000, it's like, yo, you got clout, like you're good. Digital footprint, that is no joke. Like everything you post will come back at you. I'm so glad Instagram took off that feature where you could see what people liked. Do y'all remember that? That was ridiculous.
That's why I'm very aware of what I post. I make sure this
I
is
hate
what
that
I want
Instagram feature, bro. Like, stop telling people what I liked on Instagram. Like, let other people mind their own business, bro.
And yet when you're
like, leave me alone.
When you're a kid, like, you want social media, like, when you first find out about it, like, when I was 9 years old, I was, like, begging my mom to let me have Instagram. And now, like, I'm even embarrassed of, like, the little, like, selfies I would post because, like, they're so stupid. So, like, looking back, I'm like, oh, yeah, I would totally never
Don't be embarrassed,
let,
bro.
like, my
You do you.
7-year-old on social media, like, you know, things like that. But I actually did have social media very young.
Yeah, me too.
I got Twitter when I was 6. My mom made it and managed
That's
it.
insane.
But I would still like, I would tweet about like my little kindergarten like crushes.
You like having your mom
in kindergarten
like,
with Twitter's crazy.
Guide like the account. I feel like I didn't have that, unfortunately. So I feel like it just depends.
Not
like,
unfortunate.
Your digital footprint could be much more harmful.
like
when you don't have
I didn't
parents
touch
that
anything.
know how to handle social media or know how to prevent it. Because my parents, they've
Getting
never
social
used
media
social
too young
media.
is
They don't have a
just-
single account. So growing up, like
Kids nowadays are just like hooked into it, dude. Like, you can't get them to be quiet, sit still, do anything unless they have an iPad, phone, anything in front of them. It's bad now.
They knew the harmfulness of it, and I don't blame them for that at all, but I feel like that's what led to me being exposed to a lot of stuff. So I feel like definitely with the new generation, and if I don't know if I'll have kids, but if I do, they're not on social media, at least for me.
When those iPad kids, I mean, those kids who use iPads, it's so
like I just said.
addicting. It's so addicting, and you need parental controls because social media is crazy. Like, or having your parents run the account, regardless, it's just that's so important.
Or even having influencers like Andrew Tate who are like influencing
Andrew
these, like,
Tate, bro.
little like
Join
boys
Hustlers
to think
University.
that mentality is like normal.
Yeah.
I feel like social media has drastically altered my personality, especially during COVID. And I feel like if it could change me that much, just imagine a 6-year-old having access to a phone for their basically entire childhood. But like honestly, I got so sensitive to being in front of camera that I feel like I kind of forgot about digital footprint and stuff like that.
I have hope for the future.
Yeah, like
2, 1, go.
I feel like everybody should have hope for their future. Like, unless you really don't know what you're gonna do with your life, like, obviously, this is something I like. I want to do it, but if it doesn't work out, I got other plans. You know, doing good in school. Just always have hope. Never give up on yourself.
I don't know, man. Seeing an iPad kid, I'm like, wow, what job is he gonna have? You know, I mean, he knows more about like scrolling to the next video than. Like,
Oh, are we
anything
talking
that,
about the
like,
future
will help him get a job.
generations? future generations might be cooked. I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like, it's just a bunch of iPad kids. I feel like their parents need to like do something about that. Teach them about the world, you know? Like, life isn't always gonna be like that. It's gonna be a lot harder.
I don't feel like I very much hope for our and the next generations, as like I feel we keep getting like the younger generations kept getting like profited on and like abused almost.
When I heard this question, I kind of thought about like social justice and like the issues that we're experiencing right now. Like, there can be a change. And I just really don't think that people back in the day were seeing that type of change. Everything was just thrown kind of under the rug, not really spoken about.
I still love to dream like, oh, I would love to achieve this one day, but even if I don't have that financial capability, I still have hope. I hope I could get there one day, and I still try to remain positive.
Everyone's goal at the end of the day is just to be happy in what they're doing and make a difference in either your own or someone's life. And I think, like, just by having this discussion, like, there's so much hope for everyone in here to go on and be successful in that, no matter what it is. So I have a lot of hope for the future, and I'm really excited, even though I'm nervous and I'm anxious about a lot of it. I'm really excited to see, like, in my personal life, like, what that means for me. Because I know I'm never gonna stop until I'm happy with what I'm doing.
I mean, I feel really grateful for our generation because a lot of us are very open-minded to having these types of conversations, whether or not it relates to us or exists in our nature. But I feel like people are so open to change now, and I feel like that's just great moving forward. And I feel like a lot of us Gen Z people have gone through such traumatic and bad experiences that we're gonna become amazing parents one day.
Like, I think I remember, like, during quarantine, there was like a sign in New York that said we had like this many years left and before our world like ends or something. And my sister is an iPad kid, and I've seen how she is, and it's like I want to say I have hope for the future, but just based off what I'm seeing, it feels like there's no change, kind of.
W video.